Barricades. My name is Boyan Stanislavski, and I'm one of the co-hosts of this show. The other co-host, Dr. Maria Chernat, is currently vacationing, so I'll be here alone, or actually not exactly alone, because recently I had the honor of interviewing two prominent U.S. peace activists, Medea Benjamin, founder of Code Pink, Women Against War, and author of a recently published book on the war in Ukraine. And Wright, a former U.S. State Department official who resigned in protest against the war in Iraq. What struck me most during this long conversation was, I think, the emotion, the passion, and the seriousness of commitment both Medea and Anne have for opposing U.S. imperialism and advocating for peace and understanding and diplomacy. And now for the interview, it's divided into three parts, each of which is equally interesting.
Because the political compass is obviously broken now. I mean, who's on the left, who's on the right, the left does what the right used to do and the other way around. It's very strange. Do you think that there's an option, despite the difficulties, there's actually a viable prospect for creating a movement, a grassroots-based movement, because the differences don't matter so much anymore, right? Or maybe they do, but we don't see that. That's how I see things. I mean, there is this small optimistic element that, regardless of whether you're a patriot or an internationalist, regardless of what you think about, gay marriage or something like that, you can still be against war together to the extent, at least, that this.
Well, you can be against some wars.
Or
it doesn't seem like
all right.
wars.
Good point.
But I'll just mention the media. I mean, the media has such a huge part to play in this, and the U.S. media, and I think the European media, has just been gung-ho for war. Gung-ho for war. To the extent that we've had to buy ads in newspapers to get our point of view across. We bought a full-page ad in the New York Times that had the listing. It was quite a remarkable document of the history of all of this.
It's quite remarkable that actually published it.
$80,000, because you pay $80,000.
Yeah, but even if I pay $8,000 today to the full 80, okay, well, that all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's
then
the difference.
Yeah.
in the Hill magazine, which is given out to all the congressional offices, another ad that we had to buy to get in there because the voices challenging the war are not being heard at all. You can't even get Medea, who's written a book about it, who's a long history of anti-war stuff that usually people want to get her version of whatever it is, but I mean, you're not getting any.
No, and what we're also doing is buying ads in Catholic newspapers, in other religious newspapers, because
You're not prosecuted for that? Because
No,
in
I'm
Poland,
not.
if I even attempt to do that,
Really?
I will be in trouble.
capitalism is stronger in the U.S. than here.
Yeah, obviously. Well, no, obviously it is, because when you look at Germany, for example, which is deindustrializing itself right now, I was thinking that the German industrialists, they would prevail over this madness, but no.
Right.
No,
Didn't you think that?
See?
Yeah.
So, the ideology can really do a lot of magic.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
But I do think that different sides can come together just on this one issue. But I also think that during this election season, we're going to have a lot more chances to build this movement because you see on the Democratic side, Robert F. Kennedy, who is running as a Democrat and has come out with a great analysis of Ukraine. I mean, he even did an interview the other day with Jeffrey Sachs.
Yeah.
So, he's coming out strong on this, and he's got 20% of the Democrats at a time when the media is saying he's a crank, he's a nutcase, don't pay any attention to him. The people are perking up and saying, oh, this guy's interesting. He's smart. He has interesting things to say. So that gives a big voice to this anti-war sentiment. And then there is also on the more to the left is Cornel West, who is a theologian, a Black activist who's been involved in all kinds of wonderful peace and justice movements for his whole life. He's now trying to get the nomination for the Green Party, and he has a terrific analysis on Ukraine and war and militarism in general, and he'll start to get more and more of a voice. And then on the Republican side, you get Trump, and you're going to get a lot of differences among the candidates on the Republican side, and that will help bring out more discussion as well. So this is an opportunity for us to really reach new audiences and build up this sentiment. Now, I don't say that these are people who are going to come out on the street. I don't think this is the way it's going to evolve.
So is this the major difference between the societies, the general culture, political culture today, the mass political culture today and in the past, that people are not so keen about going out in the streets? They're more keen to, splash hashtags around Twitter or whatever.
Sign a petition. Yeah, that kind of stuff, right? So this level of demobilization, if you like, of the societies of the, again, to use this phrase, collective West, which I think is a very accurate phrase. That's why I'm using it. I wonder, are the ruling classes, or particularly the American ruling class, less afraid of social reaction than it used to be in the past? Well, I wouldn't say collective West, because look at France. I mean, people come out in mass numbers and start burning buildings down.
Oh yeah, but that's a French tradition.
Well, that's French and Italian. They come out in large numbers, and we can name other places in Europe where they come out for strikes, and there are mobilizations that are happening. I think Europe tends to be more out on the streets than in the United States in general. Our trade union movement is very weak in the U.S. But I think around these foreign policy issues, because as we talked about it, it's not this anger that the U.S. invaded a country and look at what's happening to the victims. The victims are the Ukrainians. It's more confusing. They're not going to come out on the streets about this. They might call their congressperson, and that's the thing that we're asking them to do. But also, as you get into election season, there's constant opinion polls being taken on all kinds of issues, and the politicians are politicians. They put their finger in and see which way the wind is blowing, and so I think there's going to be a lot of change as this moves, because
all right, so let's talk a little bit about the upcoming presidential election. Does Donald Trump stand an actual chance of winning this election? Because many people here in Poland, many commentators, so-called experts, self-appointed, most of them, experts in international politics, they say, oh, no worries, Trump is this pro-Russian, whatever, they don't call him Russian asset anymore after the reports, but, this pro-Russian president, that would be very unfortunate for us because, we really want to go, well, of course they don't say it, but that's what they're thinking. We really want to, take down Russia, take down their government. So it's much better now, it would be better if Joe Biden remains in office. But now they are pumping up Donald Trump because they feel that he is the kind of guy that no one is going to vote for, that he's just a worn out brand and that kind of stuff. And I kind of think, are you repeating the strategy that failed in 2016? Because that's what it seems like.
I never thought Trump would win in 2016. I stayed up watching the polls, and I didn't believe it. I thought, this can't possibly be what's happening in the United States. And now I realize, well, the United States is a crazy place right now, and Donald Trump has captured the Republican Party. It is astounding. All the crazy stuff that he has done, people in office are afraid to criticize him. They don't want to lose his base. And he has a rapport with people that he can, as he said, he can walk down Fifth Avenue and kill somebody and, nothing happens. I mean, he might go to jail right now and he's facing serious problems. This will be used for him as another chance to be showing himself the victim.
He's the victim.
Yeah.
He's the victim, and
Deep
he
state
plays it so well. And he gets away with everything. He can call anybody anything he wants to. He is ruthless. So it's not outside the realm of possibility at all that the American public, by a narrow margin, I mean, he lost the popular vote in 2016, but he got the electoral college vote. So it's quite possible that, you know, unless a couple of Republican candidates really come on strong and really go after him in ways that it's kind of hard to predict how they would do this, because he is so ruthless going after anybody that challenges him.
They're all afraid, like dodging. Don't go after me. Don't go after me. Yeah.
So,
but also recognize just how insane it is. The political scene that we have with Biden, who
That you have to place your hopes.
the majority of people don't want Biden. Majority of Democrats don't want Biden. And Biden, doesn't even want to debate, and everybody's so afraid if he gets in front of an opponent, what the heck is he going to say? So it's just there is insanity, and Biden's age is definitely an issue.
No, it's almost elderly abuse.
Yeah,
Sorry,
right,
that's
right.
just.
Yeah. So to think of a contest between Biden and Trump is just like pitiful, absolutely pitiful. The hundreds of millions of people, the brilliant people we have in our country, the brilliant politicians that we have in our country, and they can't rise to the top.
Yeah, exactly. That's my question. So you know that, I know that, like many people know that. So some of your politicians got to be realizing that too, and they're silent.
I think they do realize it, and they are silent because the Biden team at the Democratic National Committee is going to silence them. And on the Republican side, they're just scared to death of Trump. They're not about to go after him.
Okay, and if Trump wins the 2024 elections, do you really think he's going to do that? He's going to call Zelensky and he's going to tell him, it's over, man. No more weapons, no more munitions. Do you think he's going to really do that?
I think it's a possibility, but you can't trust Trump as far as you can throw him. So I wouldn't put great hopes in that. I would never vote for Trump, no matter what. But there is some hope. But, we have plenty of issues to worry about, and it's not just Ukraine. Sure. And Trump has been awful on so many others. I mean, look at the case of Iran and how he pulled out of the nuclear deal there. Look at how he's tortured the people of Cuba, and Biden has, continued that policy. So I don't think I would put any trust or faith in Trump.
Right. Well, that's a kind of conclusion that I I expected from you. All right, so for the end of our conversation, let's speak about what is important for the American public. What matters are important, because let's just try and enlighten a little bit our Eastern European audience of what America is actually like, politically speaking. What are the most important topics or themes that the American public is concerned about?
3 of them. Economy, economy, economy.
And maybe economy.
And then the issues of, trying to get foreign policy into the, even if they have debates, but to get the candidates really talking about foreign policies versus the domestic policies, which are the ones that are the bread and butter for these candidates. I mean, they'll start talking about not enough about health care, but they'll go in. I get for the Republicans, the culture wars is what they'll start in on.
Yeah.
But
we have a cheap copy of that here too. We always copy things from the Americans.
I don't anticipate that the war in Ukraine is going to be a major topic.
But still, Biden wants the victory, right? Because he thinks
wants
it's important for his campaign.
I think it's probably easier not to talk so much about it during the campaign.
Okay, but wouldn't it pay off politically to actually have some kind of deal signed right now for him, for his campaign? Wouldn't that?
I think so. I mean, he has said that Putin needs an off-ramp, and I would say everybody needs an off-ramp, and that there are plenty of off-ramps to offer. I mean, everything is about spin. So how do you spin where the line in the Donbass is going to be? How do you spin what kind of referendum would be held? How do you spin what's going to happen in Crimea? How do you spin the neutrality of NATO versus all of the benefits that Ukraine is going to get, whether it's in NATO or not. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to spin this, and there's all kinds of issues.
So there is no political will. That's it.
It's absolutely about political will. Absolutely. I mean, when we say that Trump could pick up the phone and say to Zelensky, sit down and start negotiating, we know that that's about political will. And that's why I go back to this issue of the Chinese, because I think the Chinese could help create the political will. And when we say that everything's about the economy, it is costing the U.S. taxpayers a lot of money, the Ukraine issue. And while they might not want to talk about it in the political terms, from the economics, it's going to be a very difficult thing if in September, which they're talking about now, needing more money, the public will start looking at these politicians and saying, wait, we just had a big fight about the debt ceiling. We just had a big fight in which you took money away from poor people who need food, when you took benefits away from the elderly, when you said that we
Which
could...
did happen. All
Yes,
this.
yes, all of this.
No one speaks about that here.
Yeah. And now, you say that we're going to give more money to Ukraine. And I remember at a press conference when Biden kind of slipped, as he often does, and said, we're supporting not just the military, we're supporting the Ukrainian government, and we're paying even for the pensions of the Ukrainian people. And people in the U.S. said, oh my God, we don't even get pensions anymore. What happened to that? And so I think, from the economic point of view, it can be an issue. And they're trying to lengthen the amount of time they can go without calling for a new round of money for Ukraine, because it's been $114 billion already. It's a lot of money. So that's, I think, where it fits into this issue of economy, because people care about their own individual economic situation. They're very individualistic in the United States. And, while some people might be fighting for, we believe that women should have access to all kinds of health care that they deserve, or we believe that there should be free childcare, which there isn't in the United States. We believe that there should be a minimum wage that's a living wage. I mean, these are issues that are all economic issues that people care about. So if you put the Ukraine into that mix as an economic issue, I think it could
Okay,
be.
and what about, out of all those economic issues which are very important for the Americans, let's speak for a short while about healthcare, because this seems to be a topic that is very hot. It's been very hot for a long time now. And is America any closer now to free universal healthcare than it was 10 years ago or
Hell
something?
no.
No. Okay.
No, in fact, Robert F. Kennedy, who's running as a very progressive Democrat, when he's asked about that, he said you just couldn't get it in the United States. You
couldn't get it.
Couldn't get universal health care. The pharmaceutical companies are so powerful. The insurance companies are so powerful. The narrative against, you can't go to the doctor that you want. I mean, all of this
And the
BS.
the mega medical facilities themselves. I mean, they're corporations that run hospitals, and they run doctors off if the doctors aren't willing to do exactly what they need for the profit for the corporation. So
Then what, they get the sack?
yeah, they can be thrown out. So
We have one of the worst healthcare systems in the industrialized world, I would say, and the most expensive.
Yeah, I know.
The most expensive. So that's an issue too, is the expense of it. But
apparently it's sustainable. I mean,
it's not sustainable over the long term, because if you look at
okay,
what
politically
is
sustainable
eating up,
since it can be managed politically. Right?
yeah. But in terms of costs, it's not sustainable. And when it gets to things like increasing the age for Medicare, issues like that, that's a iron rail. That's a tough one.
and even on like Medicare, government sponsored health care once you reach 65.
Mhm.
Well, trying to get what do you call them? Pills, little pills. Yeah, medicine. trying to get medicine on a generic basis that will cost like 1/10 of what it costs you if you don't have Medicare insurance. Well, the government trying to get this low cost generic stuff the pharmaceuticals are going crazy on it because they're going to lose, massive profits. And yet, as every other government in the world for their healthcare system buys cheaper, good but cheaper stuff, and yet in the U.S. we don't do it.
People have to go to Canada or Mexico to get drugs.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's an awful healthcare system, and it just shows corporate control of such a critical part of our lives.
Okay, and for the very end of the program, I just want to ask you about the crumbling infrastructure. Is it real? Is it true?
It's a mess.
Because, we have this mythology here in Europe that in America everything is clean and shiny and fantastic.
Yeah, don't ride Amtrak. Don't ride our trains.
Our train system basically doesn't exist,
No,
and what
and-
exists is falling apart.
Yeah, and when we still are using, almost 80-year-old rails to transport huge amounts of chemicals all over the country, and we've just had, a massive train wreck that destroyed one town essentially, and we're living on the edge of all of this infrastructure that is not being replaced. And even though Biden
But it's also
was
schools and
able-
hospitals and that kind of facilities too?
If you have money, you can get the best schools and you can get great hospitals.
Okay.
And, we love our country. It breaks my heart to see what's happening to it. It really does. It breaks my heart that you go to every major city, and I just traveled to 70 cities. Every city I went to has a huge area of homeless population.
Wow.
It is unacceptable. It is absolutely unacceptable. You have people living all over the streets, and the cities just can't deal with it. We have mental issues that are horrific because of the level of drugs, and there's no mental health. I mean, we have young people living on the streets who can't get access to the mental care they need to get them off the drugs and off the streets. And you have many people in some of the poorer areas of the cities who children go to school and can graduate from high school without being able to read and write. A horrible situation. The inequalities in our country are astounding and getting worse constantly. And I see our country crumbling from the inside between the haves and have-nots. And it is really painful to watch it happen because the American people deserve so much better. We have so much. We have so much to give each other. And people are good people, just like they're good people around the world. They want to help each other and all of that. But we have a system that really focuses on not taxing the wealthy. Right now, we have had a debate about reducing the debt, and one of the things they took away was money that the Internal Revenue Service would use to check the taxes being paid by the wealthiest people. That money was taken away on purpose by the Republicans because they don't want the rich to have to pay taxes. And, so you get this system that is just so skewed in favor of the wealthy, and massive numbers of people who can't get a decent job at a living wage, can't get access to housing, can't get access to good education, unions that are basically been decimated. And so it's not a healthy state of the U.S. economy.
Okay, how do you remain optimistic in situations like that?
Well, you've got to be optimistic. Otherwise, we're up a creek.
Right.
You've just got to keep working on these issues and calling out politicians when they are doing bad, and hope that you can develop enough concern in the community that they stop electing some of these idiots that are causing some of this problem.
And I see it as moving towards a better phase, that things get worse with the divisions, and then people rise up. And so I'm waiting for the revolution, and I want to be part of that. It'll happen soon.
That's right.
Right, thank you very much.
Again, I'd like to remind you that the Barricade is an independent media outlet based in Bulgaria, which I co-run with a colleague from Bucharest, Dr. Maria Cernat, whom I mentioned already. Check out our website, our YouTube channel, and our channels on Rumble and Odyssey. Our videos are also available on Substack, where you can also find audio versions of our podcasts and articles. Our audio productions are also available on Spotify and SoundCloud. And one more important, I think, remark: none of our videos or audios are monetized. If you see an advertisement in the middle of the podcast, feel free to skip it. It doesn't help us in any way. If you believe our journalistic efforts are important and worthy of your support, then please consider subscribing to our channel, sharing with your friends and followers, and making a one-off donation or purchasing a monthly subscription through Patreon or Substack. The description box contains all the necessary links. You can also help to support our Eastern European independent journalism by using our media company, Nonstop Media, for all kinds of commercial purposes. We've worked in media, reporting, design, video, audio, and text editing, publishing, translations, interpreting, event planning, and a variety of other fields. We have fantastic specialists on board who can do amazing things with words and images. For more information, go ahead and visit our website at nonstopmedia.eu. Thank you.